Welcome our dear student of second prep in a new episode of Madrasa على الهوا. Today inshallah we are going to continue lesson 3 in unit 1, the main group in the model periodic table. In the previous session we explained group 1A, which is called alkali metal, and we said why it is called alkali metal, because they dissolve in water forming alkaline solution. We also discuss or explain the properties of this group, their location. They were the first group in the model periodic table, found in the S block and in the first column. So they are monovalent because the outermost energy level contain only one electron, which lost during a chemical reaction, and the atom become positive ion. The elements found in group 1A are very active metal, starting with lithium, sodium, potassium, and cesium. Cesium was the most powerful or the most active metal, as it has the largest size in this metal. Okay. Then we started the second group, which we call it halogens, the group 7A. First, as the previous group, we must know why we call it group 7A halogens. Halogens is called by this name according to their Latin name, which is called salt or forming salt. So by this name, this element combine with metal forming salt, and this is why they called forming salt or halogens in Latin. البروبرتيز بتاعتهم from group 7A, the outermost energy level consists of 7 electrons, so they gain electron and become a negative ion, and their valency is monovalent. This group found in the right side of the model periodic table before the zero group or the column 18. They are very active non-metal, starting with fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. Okay, let's see together their property. This is the halogens in the last group. Okay, a location found in the right side in the model periodic table before the inert gas. They are elements in column 17 in the P block. Give reason, as we said, why this group 7A, are named by this name, halogens. Why? Because they react with metal forming salt. Number one, they are monovalent. Why they are monovalent? Because the outer energy level consists of 7 electrons, so it gain and become a negative ion. They gain and become a negative ion. They exist in it exists in the form of diatomic molecule, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. Okay, why? Because they are very active. Because they are very active. Number 4, their physical differ from fluorine, chlorine, they found in the gaseous state, bromine found in the liquid state, and iodine found in the solid state. And all we know all that bromine is the only non-metal found in the liquid state. Because they are very active, they do not exist in their element state or in their alone. They must be combined with another element. Okay, as we see from the slide, that the sodium combined with chlorine to give NaCl, sodium chloride. Each element replaces the below for it. Okay, let's start with this chemical equation. Sodium is from group 1A metal, and chlorine is from group 7A. By combining the metal with the halogen, it forms salt, and this is why they are called halogens. Okay, let's write the equation together. Sodium 2Na plus Cl2. Why Cl2? Because they are very active, so they are not found in the single state. The molecule are diatomic. Okay, they combine together forming 2NaCl, which is salt, sodium chloride, and this is known as table salt. As we going to write the group together, starting with fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. This is the most active, and the activity decreased in the group. So this element cannot replace, the iodine cannot replace bromine in its salt solution, and bromine cannot replace chlorine in its solution. Why? Because it is below it in the group or less active. Okay, example, if we had potassium with bromine, this going to give potassium bromide, which is salt. Okay, but if we have another one, chlorine plus 2 kBr. Okay, as we see here, look, this is the metal, this is the metal. Okay, this one is halogen and this one is halogen. But let's see which is more active, chlorine or bromine. We'll find that the chlorine is more active than bromine because it is above it in the group. So it will replace it. It will take the metal, this is the metal, from it and replace it. So bromine will be outside and the chlorine will KCl2. Okay, this is, we call it replacement. The element above in the halogen group, or the element which is most active, replace the less active one. Replace the less active one. So bromine will be outside and replaced by chlorine. The chlorine take its place, okay, by the Cl. It will take the metal from it, and the bromine will be outside by replacement. But if the opposite, if we have the opposite, this will be no reaction. So if we have bromine plus 2 KCl, okay, let's have a look about the metal. This is the metal, okay, and the chlorine and the bromine, this is the non-metal from the halogen. Which is more stronger? El chlorine, and it's already have the metal, so no reaction. Okay, why chlorine replaces bromine? Because it is more active, or it is above it in the group, like this. But why the bromine cannot replace the chlorine, or there is no reaction? Because chlorine is more active and bromine found below it in the chemical, in the halogen group. Okay, again, let's summing up the properties of this group. They all end with 7 electrons, so the valency is monovalent as they gain and become negative ion. All of these elements, group halogen, are very active non-metal. They found in the 3 states: solid state like iodine, bromine in a liquid state, fluorine and chlorine in the gaseous state. Okay, so the 3 states of matter are in this group. The activity decreased in group, starting by fluorine, the most active non-metal, and ending chlorine, then bromine, then iodine. In the chemical reaction, the most active halogen replaced the less active. So we have to study it by their arrangement in the group. Chlorine can replace the bromine, but bromine cannot replace the chlorine. The chlorine replaces bromine. Bromine replaces iodine. The opposite can happen. Why? Because it's below it and less active. Stronger, or the element which is going to have the metal, okay, and forming salt. Okay, this is the properties of the halogen. They also very active, so they are found in the diatomic form. Cl, Cl2, the molecule. Iodine, I2, molecule. Chlorine, Cl2, the molecule. Why they are found in the diatomic form? Because they are very active non-metal. Okay, as we see, this is the chemical equation. We have in the first one chlorine with KBr, it will replace the bromine. The second one, chlorine with sodium bromine, also it will replace the bromine, and the chlorine is formed. Then Br, okay, bromine is more active than iodine, so it will replacement will happen. We have the last group we are going to study. It's the inert gas, or the group 18. This group not found in the chemical reaction. It doesn't share in any chemical reaction. Why? Because the outermost energy level is completely filled. So they doesn't need any gaining or losing electron, and they are called inert gas, noble gas, zero group, or column 18 or group 18. The most common give reason for this, why they doesn't share in a chemical reaction, because they are completely filled their outermost energy level by electron, so they didn't need any electron. What about the valency? As we said before, what's meant by valency? It is the number of electrons, which what? Gain, lose, or share. Number of electrons, gain, lose, or share. This is what's meant by valency. A noble gas doesn't share or gain or lose any electrons because the outer energy level is completely filled. So the valency will become zero. Why the noble gas valency is zero? Because the outer energy level is filled and they doesn't share or gain or lose any electrons. Okay, let's see it together. Valency of inert gas is zero. Why? Because their outermost energy level is saturated. What's meant by saturated? Completely filled with electron. They do not gain or lose electron in the normal condition, and they are called inert gas or noble gas or zero group. Okay. Now we are going to have the last part in this lesson, the uses of some element. Okay, we are going to study a use of a metal, non-metal, and semi-metal. To memorize together what's meant by semi-metal or metalloid, it is the element which have both properties of metal and some and metal. Sometimes it acts as a metal and other react as a non-metal. Example from this is silicon. Silicon is the most famous metalloid or semi-metal we have. The common use of the silicon in the electronic devices, the computers, laptop, all of these electronic devices, silicon is used in it. Why? Because it is semi-metal or semiconductor. What's meant by semiconductor? The conductivity, electric conductivity, depend on the temperature. So it may be a bad conductor or good conductor according to the temperature, so it calls semiconductor. Another element we are going to explain the uses of it, cobalt 60. Cobalt 60 is an element radioactive. What's meant by radioactive? It produces unseen rays, specifically gamma rays. Cobalt 60, an element, produces gamma ray. What's the effect of this gamma ray? It kills or stop the reproduction of microbes. Cobalt produce gamma ray, and the gamma ray kill or stop the reproduction of microbes. If this microbe found on the food will be spoiled. So this element, cobalt 60, is used in what? In food preservation. In food preservation or keeping food without any change, as it kills all the microbes inside it. What about the liquid nitrogen? The liquid nitrogen, in order to find nitrogen, we know that's the nitrogen in gas. To change it into liquid state, it has a boiling point -196, -196 degree. So this is the boiling point. Boiling point means that change from liquid to gas, liquid nitrogen. The uses of liquid nitrogen used in what? In preserving the eye cornea. The eye cornea, in order to keep it safe without damage before transplanting it from one human to another, okay, it must be kept very well. So the liquid nitrogen is used as its boiling point is -196. The last element we are going to discuss it together or explain it is the sodium. Sodium is used in nuclear reactor. What's the nuclear reactor? It's used to produce electricity. In order to produce electricity from a nuclear element, there is a huge heat released. The nuclear reactor becomes very hot. If the temperature continue to increase, this nuclear reactor will explode. Must be cooled out. لازم التمبرتشر تي decreased. طب by using what? By using the liquid sodium, which absorb the heat from inside the nuclear reactor to outside. Okay, let's see it together. Okay, number one, the radioactive cobalt-60. Why it is used in food preservation? Give reason. Because it radiates. Radiates means what? Radiate means produce gamma rays. What's the function of the gamma rays? It stops the reproduction of microbe without harming the human. It hasn't any effect on the human, only on the microbes, and the microbes is the reason of spoiling the food. Then silicon is metalloid. We said what's meant by metalloid. It is the element which have both property of metal and non-metal. الuses بتاعته used in computer. Why? Because it's semiconductor. What's meant by semiconductor? The conductivity depend on the temperature. The conductivity depend on the temperature. Then liquid nitrogen. As we said, why the liquid nitrogen is used in transparent or transferring a part of the eye, هي الeye cornea, before damage. Okay, يبقى liquid nitrogen used in the cornea from the dead person to transfer it into liquid. Why? Because it has low boiling point, -196. Then the last use is sodium. It's a good conductor of heat, used in absorbing the heat from inside the nuclear reactor to outside. This heat is used in what? In producing the electricity. It's used in producing the electricity. Okay, يبقى let's having a quickly revision on lesson 3. Lesson 3 started with group 1A and group 7A, then the inert gas, then the last point in this lesson was the uses of some element. Group 1A, this is the first group we have explained. It is found in the left side in the model periodic table. The outermost energy level consists of 1 electron, so they are monovalent because they lose this outermost energy level and become a positive ion. This group contains lithium, sodium, and potassium, cesium. We have a give reason. We are going to write it together. Give reason. Number 1, halogens found in diatomic form. So why halogens found in the diatomic form? We said it and we answered it. Why? Because they are very active non-metals. The second give reason we are going to see it. Sodium and potassium kept under kerosene or paraffin. Okay, we said that the sodium and potassium are very active non-metal, so we must keep them under kerosene or paraffin. What? Okay, why? Because they are very active, so it must be away from moist air or prevent reaction with moist air because they are very active. Okay? Another give reason. Group 7A called halogens. Why group 7A is called halogens? Okay, because they react with metals forming salts. And salts mean what? Means halogen. Type. As we see the 7A called halogen, why or give reason, group 1A called alkali metals. Why group 1A called alkali metals? The group 1A called alkali metals because they dissolve in water, forming what? Alkali metal. So they called alkaline solution. Alkaline solution. Okay, let's have another question. What's the use of silicon? Number 2, liquid nitrogen. Okay, يبقى السيليكون used in what? Let's answer it together. The silicon used in electronic devices and in computers. Why? Because it is semiconductor type. What's the use of liquid nitrogen? The liquid nitrogen used in nuclear reactor to absorb the heat which is used in producing electricity. The use of cobalt 60, it produces gamma rays. The gamma rays stop the reproduction of microbes, so it is used in food preserving. The last use was the nitrogen. The nitrogen used in preserving eye cornea because it has a low boiling point -196. Okay, now we reach the end of our episode. Until we meet again next week. Thanks for watching us and best of luck.